So today we're exploring one of Northeast Portland's most underrated and walkable neighborhoods, and that's Sabin. If you're looking for historical homes, tree-lined streets with a strong sense of community, all in a very central location, just minutes from downtown, this neighborhood might be the perfect fit. In this video, I'll show you what it's like to live here. We'll talk about the schools, local hotspots, and of course show you the various types of homes that you can find in this neighborhood. So please join me as we take a tour of Sabin in Northeast Portland. So hello and welcome to a warm and beautiful afternoon here in the Sabin neighborhood, and we're located in Northeast Portland. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name's Backholer. I'm a real estate broker and I specialize in helping people relocate to the Portland metro area. Now, every week I put out videos just like this to help you explore various different neighborhoods and suburbs and show you what it's really like to live here. So if you have any questions about buying or selling in the Portland metro area, I'd love to help. Just reach out to me anytime. Okay, so now let's move on to the topic of today's video and talk about why Sabin might be a great fit for you. And first things first, let's take a look at our map so you know where we're located. Okay, so this is our map of Portland, and then you can see just up here with this dotted red outline, this is Sabin. All right, so Sabin is in Northeast Portland. You'll see the neighborhoods that is nearby: Irvington directly to the south, Alameda kind of to the east, and then along here, Alberta Street, that's where you'll find tons of bars, restaurants, cafes, cute boutiques, art galleries, but there's no chain stores along here. It's all kind of these small neighborhood shops and places to go out. So Alberta Street, very, very close to Sabin, plenty of things to see and do along there. There's no large park in Sabin. I'll talk about the Hydro Park a little bit later on, but you'll see just outside of Sabin itself, you've got Irving Park, and then you've got Alberta Park up here, Wiltshire Park down here, and then Grant Park in the bottom lower right side of our map. So no large parks in Sabin, but you're near other parks just outside the neighborhood. And then other places to mention along Fremont Street right here, goes west to east. You'll see on this corner right here, you've got a Whole Foods Market, UPS store, there's a kids clothing store in there, Starbucks, and then there's a small patch along here as well. And Vida, cool restaurants, as it's temporarily closed, so hopefully that pops back up. Fat Milo Cafe just opened up. You got Freehouse, a nice cool neighborhood bar, really nice little courtyard in the back there, which is good. Cafe Destino, nice cool cafe. And then you've got a couple other places, a Vietnamese place and a sushi place, which is one of my favorite sushi restaurants in Portland, actually, very, very good. And this is, obviously, I live right in around this neighborhood just south in Irvington. And then just outside of Sabin, you've got Gilda Cafe, and then you've also got Luca Restaurant right here, and there's a garden center. And then also in the neighborhood of Sabin, on Prescott up here, I'll show you some of these places. You've got a Mexican restaurant, another sushi restaurant, a bakery, and there's also a restaurant on the corner there as well. And then you'll see the map of Sabin itself. Sometimes you'll see slightly different outlines than what I've got showing here. Here it shows that Sabin does go south of Fremont a couple of blocks and covers a few areas. Other maps you'll see it doesn't cover that, so it really varies on what map you're looking at, but overall you know it's near Irvington and it's near Alameda. And then a few other things to call out. You'll see it's mostly a grid system, but it starts to get kind of slightly more unusual roads around here, especially into Alameda, and there is a bit of a hill. So as you go north, there's a bit of a hill up around here as well. And then the Sabin Elementary School's right here, and there's a few other places, the community orchard there as well. But overall, Sabin is really well located. I'm just zooming right out now. So if you look, this is where downtown, the Pearl is. So very, very close to those areas, and there's tons of food, restaurants, cafes, shops. So you're only about a 10-minute from this area. If you're working downtown, 10 minutes, maybe 15 in rush hour. So very, very convenient. And then PDX Airport's up here, so also part of Northeast Portland. So 15 to 20 minutes to get to PDX Airport. So overall, Sabin is very centrally located. Convenient really to get to most parts of Portland. You've got restaurants, cafes in the neighborhood, parks just outside the neighborhood. Good school system overall, very well located overall. Okay, let's get into the main part of the video. Okay, so let's start our tour here on Fremont Street. That's this road right here that runs alongside several of the shopping facilities. It's kind of a busy street. It's you got Fremont, and then you got 15th. So 15th runs from north to south, and then Fremont runs west to east. Now on this corner of Northeast 15th and Fremont, you have a Whole Foods grocery store, plus a few other stores and facilities in this area. You've got a couple of kids stores there, there's a credit union, there's a Starbucks right behind me. And then across the street, you've got Bar 405, that's a Vietnamese restaurant. There's Moho Sushi, which is an excellent sushi place I've eaten at multiple times. And I should also say, I live in a neighborhood directly south of here, and that's Irvington, which is basically the other side of Fremont Street. So if you do decide that Sabin is right for you, you may well see me in the neighborhood. In fact, across the street, Dillinger's right over there. That's a barber shop where I get my hair cut. So as we work our way along Fremont Street, you'll see there's a few cute stores between Northeast 14th and Northeast 13th Avenues. You have several places to eat here. This includes Cafe Destino, which is a corner cafe. You've got Envida, and then the new Fat Milo's Cafe, which serves food all day long. You also have Free House, which is a local bar with a great backyard area, and then the Rose City Book Club, both good places to get a beverage. So to give you some high-level numbers, there's approximately 1,300 residences in the Sabin neighborhood with approximately 3,200 people who live here. That works out to be just under 2.5 people per residence. Now there's going to be some variation in the types of homes here. Unlike Irvington, which is deemed a historic neighborhood, Sabin doesn't have that level of protection despite the neighborhood being built at a similar time. Now what that effectively means is that although most homes in the neighborhood were built in the 1920s, you will find some properties that were demolished and rebuilt in more recent times. Now a good example of that is a property just down the street behind me on Northeast 20th. That's just half a block from Fremont Street. Originally it was a small 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom bungalow. However, it went through a complete remodel where they knocked it down to the foundations, rebuilt it, and it's now a 6-bedroom, 4.5-bathroom home. And I toured this property when it was on the market a couple of years ago, so let me show you a very quick tour of the property. Now something else you might see in the neighborhood is where they again knock down an older home and put a row of townhouses from front to back. And I'll show you some examples of this later in the video where we talk about home prices in the area. Now the way that this neighborhood is transitioning is not the norm. Most of the time the original home is kept, so the couple of examples I'm calling out are rare, but the neighborhood is changing in these very small baby steps. And what that means is the breadth of homes in terms of style is increasing. Most of the homes here though were built around the 1920s through to the 1940s. Home sizes would generally be between 2,000 and 3,500 square feet. And do remember that the square footage number can include unfinished basement spaces, which we are allowed to include in our listings here in Portland. Now you're going to find Craftsman's, Foursquare Homes and Tudors throughout the neighborhood. And to give you a ballpark figure on prices, most homes will sell between 700,000 and 1.2 million here. Now there's no large condo buildings in the neighborhood, so if you are looking for a condo, this is probably not going to be the right neighborhood for you. Now later in the video we'll talk a lot more about real estate, and I'll show you some examples on what you can find on the market as well as what's recently sold in the area. Now in the north section of Sabin on Prescott Street and Northeast 15th Avenue, you'll find another smaller commercial area. Here you'll find a sushi restaurant, a Mexican restaurant, a bakery and a small bottle shop and bar. And across the street you'll find a florist and also a corner market. Now a few blocks north of Prescott you'll enter the Alberta Arts District. This is where you'll find Northeast Portland's largest collection of bars, restaurants, cafes, art galleries and cute boutique stores. So there's plenty to see and do within close proximity of Sabin. Now, one of the landmarks of Sabin is of course the Sabin Hydro Park. Unfortunately, this isn't a water park with a pool and slides, but it's where the Portland Water Bureau has a couple of very large towers. The park is quite small but open to the public. You see they have a kids playground, a community garden as well. But if you're looking for a slightly larger park with sports fields, then Irvington Park to the south, Alberta Park to the north and Wiltshire Park to the east are going to be your closest options, and all these are going to be less than a 5-minute drive from Sabin. So Sabin has a reputation for being one of Portland's most welcoming and community orientated neighborhoods. There's an active neighborhood association, block parties in the summer, and people really take pride in their homes here. Now behind me we have the Sabin Community Orchard. This is a good example of the strong community. It's a small area, it's a couple of blocks south of the Hydro Park, and here you'll find approximately 30 fruit trees located for the community to enjoy. Okay, so before we continue, I did want to remind you that I am a real estate broker based here in Portland, Oregon. So if you are considering moving to the area, feel free to reach out to me. You can either give me a call, send me a text or email, alternatively scan the QR code that you see on the screen. That will take you to a scheduling form where you can set up a one-on-one Zoom call with me, and then I can address any specific questions you have. Now, I've personally relocated domestically and internationally on multiple occasions, and as a real estate broker, I'll be able to guide you through the process and share with you my experiences to help you find your perfect neighborhood. Okay, so now let's get back on with the video and see what else Sabin has to offer. Now in the middle of the neighborhood, you'll find the Sabin Elementary School, which you can see behind me. And according to greatschools.org, this has a fairly solid rating of 7 out of 10. Now this is the only school in the neighborhood, but the middle school and high school options are fairly close. The Harriet Tubman Middle School, which is just west of here, has an average rating of 6 out of 10. And then for high schools, there's a couple of options. The excellent Grant High School is one of the very best in the city with an 8 out of 10 rating. Then you also have the Jefferson High School, which performs quite a bit lower though, with a 5 out of 10 rating. So really it is important to understand what the catchment area is, because different houses within the same neighborhood will allow you to go to a different high school. Okay, so now let's take a quick drive around to get a feel for the neighborhood vibe, get an idea of the homes, and we'll see some mature landscaping that makes this area so picturesque. And then when we come back, we'll spend more time talking about homes and of course property prices. Okay, so if you've been watching my videos for a long time, you'll know that by now that normally at this stage of the video, I like to go online, look at my website and show you the houses that are currently for sale in the neighborhood. Well, this is a little tricky because there's actually nothing apart from two new construction homes in the neighborhood. And if you were paying attention earlier on, I mentioned that Sabin generally homes here are built in the mid 1920s-ish, 1940s, 1920s to 1940s. Although there are a few new homes, the mainly see those older homes. So the homes that are currently on the market are not really a fair reflection of what you would typically find in this neighborhood. So what I'll do is I'll just show you one or two of these new ones that are for sale, and then we'll look back and show you what's sold over the last 6 months, just so you get an idea of truly what is a typical property and a typical price point for this neighborhood. So you'll see actually it says there's 3 properties, but there's only really 2. It just means that they're selling multiple of these new homes as as an investment. But we'll just take a look at the one that's for $529,000. Now, earlier in the video, I did mention that the way they build some of these homes is that it's almost side on to the street. So there'd be a house and a little side path, and another house and another house there. So it's almost like as a side walking path, so that you may get 2 or 3 or even 4 small townhouses on one lot, but they're not all facing the street. They're kind of sideways on. So and that's exactly what we've got going on here. So this one is listed for $529,900, so just under $530,000. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms and a half bathroom for 1,100 square feet. Again, this is not a typical property you'll find in a neighborhood, but it just gives you the idea. And I think this white one here is the other house that's for sale. And this is what I mean. So you see what this car is. This is actually the street, and then so the lot kind of starts here, and then this is the path coming off the main street. So these houses are tucked behind other houses that are actually on the street. But they're all going to be nice inside, brand new homes, kind of open plan. You will see homes like this scattered throughout all of these neighborhoods, unless it's an older protected neighborhood like Irvington, like Laurelhurst, those neighborhoods that are designated historic neighborhoods. You can't build this type of thing. But this is Sabin, so you can build this type of thing. You will see this scattered throughout some parts of Northeast Portland, but it's not the norm, okay? But overall, nice house. You typically get very little in the way of a lot size. Again, this kind of shows you kind of what we're looking at here. So this is the house on the street, and then this path to get access to the 2 or 3 other properties. Okay, so this is the street. So overall, and I think that what those pictures showing you is kind of the 4 units you could buy for $2 million if you were looking for an investment. Okay, but overall, yeah, kind of an option if you're looking for new construction at a pretty good price point. Remember, the entry level price point really for this neighborhood is around $700,000 for a more traditional older house. But here you can see there are some examples where you can get brand new construction, but no yard, and you're very close to your neighbors here. Okay, let's take a look at a few options that have sold over the last few months in this neighborhood. Okay, so we're on the MLS now, and what I'm showing you is all of the houses that have sold in Sabin in the last 12 months. Now, if you remember, the map area of Sabin was not quite a perfect rectangle, so I may have got a couple of houses that shouldn't be in here. But overall, there's 52 houses that sold in the previous 12 months in Sabin. I've sorted this from highest to lowest on price point. So you'll see there's about 6 houses that have sold for over $1 million. At the other end of the scale, the lowest price is around just under $500,000. Remember, there could be fixers in here. There could be some properties that are not in great condition. But if you kind of look at the actually down here, we've got some perfect numbers. The median list price is $692,000. The median sold price is just over $700,000. Price per square foot, $342. And you can also see some square foot information. So average square foot, about 2,100 square feet. So that kind of gives you an idea on, you'll typically find something around 22,000, 2,500 square feet. You'll find homes, comfortably lots of homes in around the 700,000s, but there are always going to be houses on either side of that. Now, the highest price homes here, this is basically a house I know very well. I've been through this house. It was on the market for quite a long time, and it was completely renovated from top to bottom inside. In fact, it used to be a small bungalow and ended up adding extra space to the house. So again, not really a great example of a typical home in the Sabin neighborhood. And then the next house on our list should actually be a familiar one. This is the one on 20th Avenue that I was talking about. So this one sold for $1.28 million. It's 6 bedrooms, 4.5 bathrooms, 3,300 square feet. And you can see, they did a really nice job to this house overall. But I wonder if we can see some of the old photos of what used to be there. Hang on one second. Yes, we will be able to. This is what the house used to be like. So completely different, right? But they kept the original foundation and then they tore it down to the foundation and built something completely different. So it was a fixer, it was a 2-bed, 1-bath fixer, and now it's something completely different. So this is unfortunately some of the things that they do in the neighborhood, make a lot more money. This one sold for $580, but that's a fixer property. But now I want to show you a couple of examples of what I feel is very, very typical for the area. Typical being in and around that median price point, which we know is in the low 700s. So let's pick one at random and let's try this one here. Hopefully it's a nice property. Okay, so this one built in 1929, 725,000, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,800 square feet. So kind of a fairly typical house overall. You'll see a wide variety of styles, properties. Sometimes I have this garage like this, sometimes it'd be a more traditional bungalow, but this kind of gives you a vibe for what you could well see in and around this neighborhood. But yeah, you'll see lots of these archways through some of these older houses, kind of a typical vibe. The staircase, which we can just see to the side here, that is like a attic style staircase. So many of these older homes, when they were built, the attic would just be unused storage space where you put your Christmas tree, and over time all the attics have been renovated to have extra living room. But those staircases on those attics can be really quite shallow stairs and quite narrow as well on the width. But you'll see that in a lot of these older homes. But this is nicely done. I like the windows, I like these archways. You kind of always entering into kind of the living room. Nice coat closet here as well. So this is actually a real nice house. Got some of that nice charm. Looks like it's in good shape. You always see kind of wood floors throughout. So this is a very good example of what you could find on the interior. The exterior is you know, a little bit more unusual with kind of the garage style. You'll definitely see this, but this is perhaps not the norm, but you'll definitely see houses like this throughout the neighborhood. But the interior of the house is a great example on what you can expect. Nice kitchen. Sometimes obviously kitchens have not been renovated. These are old houses, so you're going to find quite a wide variety of finishes and styles throughout there. But overall, yeah, this is a great example. Bathroom's a little bit dated. You know, someone might want to renovate it. And again, up on the top floor, some of the bedrooms you will find in some of these older houses will have sloped roofs. Very normal, very, very typical. It's just kind of the features you may find in here. This again is obviously not an original feature, but to have a large closet in a house in these older neighborhoods is always a great bonus. And sometimes on these upper floors you won't find bathrooms. I see many houses that don't have a bathroom upstairs. This one obviously does, so a great feature. But this house, yeah, I think this house is a great example. When you see the square footage for houses, that square footage means it could be an unfinished or a finished basement space. I know in many parts of the country, if it's not finished, you're not allowed to say that's part of the square footage. But if you're browsing online, looking at Realtor.com or Zillow or any of these other sites, and you see the square footage number, that will include the basement, and it doesn't matter if it's finished or unfinished, it will still include unfinished basement space like this in that overall number. So just something to keep in mind. Sometimes the headroom's not great in the basements. You know, so, and I'm 6'4", sometimes I have a hard time standing up, sometimes it's great. And then this looks like it's the garage right here that opens to the street. Nice backyard, nice deck. Overall, this is a good house, good price. So not surprised this one's sold. 4 days on market, 4 days. So that means good on the market, it took 4 days to get an offer. Okay, so great example. It was listed initially for, where are we? List price just under 700,000, and it's sold for 725,000 with just 4 days on the market. Okay, let's take a look at a couple more options. Okay, let's take a look at another house that's sold right around the typical square footage, typical price point. So this one here, 707,000, 2,300 square feet on 18th Avenue. Let's take a look. Let's hope it's a nice one. Okay, this one's completely different, but again, you'll find this sort of style throughout. So let's take a look. So this one, 707,000, 3 bed, 1 bathroom. So this goes back to what I mentioned about only 1 bathroom in the house, no bathroom upstairs, 2,300 square feet. And again, this one was built in 1925. So a completely different style. You'll see houses like this scattered throughout Sabin, throughout Irvington, throughout Grant Park. You know, it's kind of an unusual style, but kind of a cool style as well. I like this one. And some houses, actually the last 2 we've looked at, they're quite raised off the street, right? And then kind of the garage is on the lower level. That's not always what we'll see, but you'll see it from place to place and street to street. So kind of a cool design, this one overall. I like this. So nice exterior, and I do like this balcony area as well. That's pretty cool. I'm hoping to see. So you'll start to see some similar characteristics again, kind of the archways, kind of a little front room. This is the area that goes off to that front balcony area. Little unusual that you don't tend to see that very often, but it does feel like it's an original feature to the house. Nice wallpaper. So yeah, this kind of nice and light and bright, right? This is kind of super cool. Okay, fireplace, that's obviously not a raw, it's like the picture's been touched up a little bit. This wallpaper, wow, it's kind of cool, right? But the characteristics, cool windows throughout, right? It's nice, attractive, older windows. And then this kitchen, I'd say the size is kind of typical for what you'll find in and around this area. You don't necessarily find the huge kitchens in these houses that are around 2,200 square feet. This one's 2,300 square feet. So it's not an unusual layout. unless they've knocked through into the dining room, and then therefore it might be a little bit more open plan. But typically in these older houses, you won't find that open plan vibe unless it's a larger home or unless they've knocked through into some of these other rooms. So for a house of this size, this layout is fairly normal, I would say. Not huge, but great size, great layout. This area here could well be a little kitchen nook. You'll see typically someone might put the kitchen table here. I've also seen people turn this kind of area into like a walk-in pantry, beautiful walk-in pantry with shelving along the side and kind of all their kitchen toys there to kind of maximize the kitchen usage. Alrighty, and then you'll find bedrooms on the main level in lots of these homes. Bathroom, it's a small size overall, and I think this is just one bathroom in this entire house. So something for you to keep in mind, that a smaller house, this is not that small. So, but they've had to put a toilet kind of in a corner here just to maximize the space. And again, this staircase is not so bad in terms of the narrowness, but it does feel again a bit like an attic style upper level, right? So again, no bathroom on this upper floor, but kind of a good space, nice and light and bright. Headroom looks fantastic. Good to have kind of a little office up there as well, and you could certainly add a bathroom upstairs as well. And then again, another basement, which is unfinished. Typically people tend to have laundry down in the basement, so bedrooms on the top floor, laundry on the lower floor. Some of the larger, more updated homes will have laundry chutes down into the basement, or they may even have laundry upstairs. And then here you've got a good sized garage. Garages in this area, you'll have very, very hard pressed to find a 2-car garage. 1-car garages are probably in at least 50% of the properties, but not all of them. And 2-car garages, you'll find a few homes that have 2-car garages, but it's certainly not the norm. Okay, and then a great backyard space. So overall, I think this is kind of giving you a good example of a couple of properties that are the norm, I would say. This one again took just 4 days to go pending. The list price was $725 and it sold for $707,000. So it could well be, and you see actually they say in the private remarks, offers received, so multiple offers. It may well be that, let's see the terms, was it cash? It was cash. So maybe they found some issues with the house and then they negotiated the property price down through the inspection period, which is why it sold under list price. If this was a loan, then typically you may find money back towards closing costs. But overall, this house sold just in January, end of January, actually in February, actual closing date. But a couple of great examples on what you can get for your money. $707,000 for 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 2,300 square feet. Hope that's given you a good example on what you can get for your money in this area.
Okay, so let's recap and talk about the pros and cons of living in Sabin. Well, firstly, some of the pros include a fantastic central location. You're only about a 10-minute drive from downtown Portland, 20 minutes from PDX Airport, and then you have plenty of cute stores, restaurants, either in Sabin or in the surrounding neighborhoods. So overall, this is a top location. Homes here are also really attractive, especially if you're looking for a cute bungalow style home. And most of the homes here actually have the older character. That's something you're specifically looking for. The school ratings are solid, definitely above average for Portland. Although that said, there are some slightly higher rated schools nearby in places like Irvington and Alameda. And then in terms of cons, or why this area might not be quite right for you, well, to be honest, there's not many. But like most of inner northeast Portland, Sabin is a more expensive neighborhood than the median price for a home in Portland. The median price for Portland is around $615,000 and will be incredibly tough for you to find any homes in this neighborhood for that price. Now, if you are thinking about buying in Sabin or anywhere across the Portland metro area, I'd love to help you find your perfect home. So please reach out to me to start the conversation about your move to the area, and do consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel for more content like this. But for now, thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.